Good day. This is the Corrupt True Crime Podcast, and I'm Charlie Cruz. Today's episode is about a woman who convinced New York's elite she was a German heiress worth millions, when in reality, she was a con artist orchestrating one of the most audacious social experiments in modern criminal history. Picture this. A 20-something woman with no money, no connections, and a thick German accent walks into Manhattan's most exclusive hotels and proceeds to live there for months without paying a single cent. She's dining at restaurants where the appetizers cost more than most people's rent, tipping $100 bills she doesn't have, and convincing banks to consider loaning her $22 million. Her secret? Absolutely nothing except confidence, a fake name, and forged bank statements showing she's worth 60 million euros. And here's the truly wild part. She almost got away with it. Her name was Anna Sorokin, but the world knew her as Anna Delvey, German heiress extraordinaire. And for nearly 4 years, she convinced some of New York's smartest, most sophisticated people that she was exactly what she claimed to be. Now, you've got to understand something about Manhattan's elite social scene. It runs on a very specific currency: perception, the right address, the right clothes, the right friends at the right parties. Anna understood this instinctively. She knew that in certain circles, actually being wealthy matters less than appearing wealthy. And she committed to that performance with an intensity that borders on method acting. She started small. Fashion week parties, art gallery openings, anywhere the beautiful people gathered. She'd show up looking impeccable, designer everything, perfectly styled, exuding this casual European sophistication, not trying too hard, never seeming desperate for attention, just existing in these spaces like she belonged there. Because according to her story, she absolutely did belong there. The backstory was simple enough to be believable. German heiress, trust fund worth 60 million euros, family money she couldn't fully access until certain legal arrangements were sorted. In the meantime, she was in New York to create something ambitious: the Anna Delvey Foundation, an exclusive arts club that would combine visual arts, culinary experiences, and social events in a historic Manhattan building. It was detailed, forward-thinking, exactly the kind of project a wealthy young cultural patron might undertake. The beauty of the con was in how she exploited the exact psychology of wealth. Truly rich people often don't carry cash. They have eccentric payment habits. Their credit cards mysteriously don't work at inconvenient moments. Wire transfers from European banks take time. These aren't red flags when someone seems obviously wealthy. They're just the quirks of dealing with international finance and family trusts. So when Anna checked into the Beekman Hotel and stayed for weeks while her wire transfer cleared, nobody panicked. When she moved to 11 Howard and racked up tens of thousands in charges, the hotel extended credit. Why wouldn't they? She looked the part, acted the part, and dropped names like breadcrumbs at a society wedding. Here's where her strategy gets genuinely clever. She tipped extravagantly. $100 to a concierge for a simple favor. Massive tips to servers. All with money she didn't actually have, of course, but the effect was powerful. Suddenly she had allies throughout these hotels, staff who vouched for her, who made sure she got the best treatment, who believed absolutely that she was good for it because generous tippers are wealthy tippers.
Building a new product? Temez Labs takes you from napkin sketch to the App Store. Trusted by Fortune 500s for quality, security, and speed. Book your free strategy session at temez.ai.
She assembled a team without them realizing they were part of a con. Lawyers to help secure financing for the Anna Delvey Foundation. Financial advisors working on commission, anticipating a massive payday once the loan came through. An architectural firm creating renderings of her arts club, all of them working for free or on spec. All of them convinced this young heiress was about to make them very rich. And then she went for the big score. $22 million from Fortress Investment Group, secured against her supposed trust fund. She created forged bank statements sophisticated enough to fool initial scrutiny, documents showing massive accounts in European banks. She had a detailed 40-page business proposal. She had architectural plans. She even had a specific property in mind, the Church Missions House, a historic building that would cost over $20,000 a month just to rent. The audacity was breathtaking. She had essentially nothing, and she was trying to talk her way into $22 million. For a while, it looked like she might actually pull it off. Fortress seriously considered the loan. Multiple banks reviewed her application. She was this close to laundering her fake identity into real wealth. If even one institution had said yes, she could have created the foundation, paid back her debts, and legitimized everything retroactively. The fake heiress would have become a real cultural patron. But cons are expensive to maintain, and Anna's was burning through credit faster than she could manufacture it. Hotels started getting nervous about unpaid bills approaching $30,000. Credit cards kept declining. Wire transfers that were supposedly coming next week never materialized. The performance required increasingly elaborate explanations. She needed to buy time, to keep people believing while she closed the big deal. So she did what any good con artist does. She went bigger. A friend from Vanity Fair, Rachel DeLoach Williams, became her next mark. Anna invited Rachel and other friends to Marrakech. All expenses paid, naturally. A luxurious week in Morocco, staying in beautiful accommodations, living large. Except when the bills came, Anna's credit cards mysteriously didn't work. Technical problems, she explained. Banking complications. Could Rachel cover it temporarily? The reimbursement would come immediately. Rachel, trusting her friend, put $62,000 on her personal credit cards. This is where the whole thing starts crumbling. Because $62,000 isn't a rounding error. It's not a favor you forget about. Rachel started asking for repayment. Anna made promises. Weeks passed. The money didn't come. And Rachel started doing what Anna should have feared most. She started asking questions. Back in New York, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. Hotels stopped extending credit. Anna was essentially homeless, but still trying to maintain the illusion of wealth. She'd show up at people's apartments, staying on couches while spinning stories about temporary accommodation issues. The woman who'd been living in $400 a night hotel rooms was now couch surfing. Rachel Williams had moved past asking nicely. She reported Anna to her bank, to the Manhattan District Attorney's office. She went from friend to highly motivated witness. And here's the thing about Manhattan. Once you create enough victims with enough resources, they start comparing notes. Suddenly prosecutors were connecting dots. The hotels with unpaid bills, the forged bank documents, the friends who'd covered expenses and never been repaid, the banks that had almost been defrauded of $22 million. The pattern became undeniable. Anna fled to California, checking into a Malibu facility, paid for, naturally, by someone else she'd conned. But by this point, she wasn't just avoiding angry hotels. She was wanted by the Manhattan District Attorney's office for grand larceny and theft of services. The investigators found her at the facility, not exactly a criminal mastermind disappearing into the wind, more like someone who'd committed herself so deeply to the performance that she couldn't quite believe it was over. And here's where Rachel Williams becomes the star of the investigation. She agreed to wear a wire, to meet with Anna and try to get her to admit details of the fraud. The conversation was devastating, Anna basically confirming everything while still maintaining this air of entitlement, like the real crime was people not believing in her vision. The trial was peak Anna Delvey. She showed up in designer clothes. A stylist was providing them, which created its own controversy about image and authenticity. She seemed more concerned with how she looked than the charges against her. The defense argued she'd intended to pay everyone back once her loan came through. That intention matters. That this was all a misunderstanding. The jury didn't buy it. Guilty on multiple counts, including theft of services and grand larceny. Though interestingly, not guilty on the charge of stealing from Rachel Williams, a technicality about who technically paid the bills initially. 4 to 12 years in prison. Restitution ordered at nearly $200,000. The fake heiress was going to actual prison.
Oh, hey, friend. Do you like what you're hearing? Now you can have a ridiculously amazing podcast, too. Check out holler.studio to get yourself one today.
She served about 2 years before being released for good behavior. Then immediately got detained again by immigration authorities because she'd overstayed her visa. Turns out she wasn't actually a German citizen with the right to live indefinitely in America. She's Russian-born, and her legal status was as fake as her trust fund. Now here's the deeply ironic twist. Anna sold her life rights to Netflix for $320,000. The show Inventing Anna became a massive hit. She finally achieved a version of what she'd always wanted. Fame, recognition, cultural relevance. Just not as an heiress or foundation director. As a con artist who became a celebrity by getting caught. She's currently under house arrest, fighting deportation, building an Instagram following over 1 million people and positioning herself as some kind of artist and cultural commentator. The woman who faked being wealthy became genuinely famous for faking being wealthy. Some see her as a cautionary tale about Instagram-era fraud, about fake-it-till-you-make-it culture taken to criminal extremes. Others, bizarrely, view her as some kind of anti-hero, a working-class girl who nearly gamed the system through pure audacity. But strip away the cultural commentary and Netflix deals, and you're left with someone who hurt real people. Rachel Williams spent months dealing with $62,000 in fraudulent charges. Hotels lost tens of thousands. Friends felt betrayed. The emotional toll of being conned by someone you trusted. That's real damage. Anna Sorokin proved something fascinating and troubling. In the Instagram age, performance can nearly become reality. If enough people believe your illusion, if you commit fully enough to the role, you can open doors that should be locked. Banks considered giving her $22 million based on forged documents and sheer confidence. But here's what she also proved. Nearly isn't enough. The most elaborate performance eventually meets reality. Wire transfers that never come, credit cards that always decline, promises that remain perpetually unfulfilled. Eventually, the pattern becomes undeniable. She spent years building an illusion and 2 years in prison watching it collapse. She's now famous in a way she never intended, known forever as a fraud rather than a philanthropist. The trust fund was fake, but the consequences were absolutely real. And somewhere in Manhattan, hotels have tightened their credit policies, banks have enhanced their verification procedures, and friends think twice before covering expenses for people whose wealth seems more performed than actual. The Anna Delvey con worked brilliantly right up until it didn't, which is precisely how cons always end. The thing about brilliant schemes is that they are seldom brilliant enough, and no matter how clever you are, the house almost always wins. Now, if you enjoyed our show, tap that follow button and 5 stars in our ratings. Catch you next time.
Grep News. Tamez.